Katie Fanning, Bubba Katie Paris from UKIP's NEC in just a few minutes' time. And if you're watching an archive version, you might want to fast forward just a few minutes. Let's have a good show. All right. Hello, what in there? Copyright free Facebook, copyright free. That's the end of the show then. Hey folks. Good evening, good people. Welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination, and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And now, party over. Party over. What now for UKIP? UK Independence Party NEC's Bubba Kate Paris is here, popping political. Are you there? Are you there, Katie? Katie?
Hello, Ollie. This is Katie.
That's not Katie. That's not Katie. That doesn't sound like Katie to me. I'll tell you. You're an octave too low.
Katie's had an operation.
What? Sorry?
Katie's had an operation.
Yeah, on her larynx. I know that's not true. I just spoke to her. That's right. Please support grassroots journalism. PayPal.me/Brexit. Like the show, share the show, all that. I'll try and work out what the deal is with the guest in a minute. Let folks know we're watching, thinking, talking. We are active. Right. Okay. A very tired Olly Connelly here tonight, actually, I've got to say. That isn't Katie. Who is that, sir?
That's Roger. It's Roger.
That's Roger Arthur.
That's right.
Oh, Roger. How are you? It's good finally for you to be on the show. Thank you.
I know that I'm not good at technology. I really apologise for that. But, we're here now. And, you're talking about really the key issue is how we get our country back. And I don't really care, quite honestly. I don't care how we do it. I don't care who does it. And I think the worst thing we could do is to start slagging Brexiteers start slagging each other off. What we have to do is the big issue, the really big issue. During the European election campaign, it didn't matter too much.
Hold on. Roger, just a sec, sir, because Kate is here as well, yeah? Katie Fanning, Bubba Kate Paris, and Roger Arthur has just called in as well. So, Kate, just daily chaos, yeah, daily chaos. But Roger knew that you were going to be on the show today, and he asked for me to ask you a question, basically, a more fundamental question. Who expects politics to return to normal after Brexit? Have we learned nothing? We really need a party which is not driven by big party donors, is not filled by career politicians, does not run on a party whip, is full of people who have succeeded in a real job, has a manifesto which goes beyond Brexit and does not bend its... Katie, just a sec.
By major donors. We are governed by our members and our elected body, the NEC.
Yep.
We are not career politicians. Hand held up high. I'm definitely not a career politician myself. And most of these people are in it for the greater good of humanity. So I think what you're describing is definitely UKIP. And do I think politics is going to return to normal? I don't know how long this Brexit debate's going to go on for. So
now, hold on a sec. Don't talk over each other. Right. Okay. Roger, what would you say to that?
Katie? Because that's exactly right.
Good.
But,
so what's the problem?
what you've just described and what you needed in British politics, I think you're describing UKIP right there, Olly. Personally,
Exactly.
I really do.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I posed the question based on what I know. Yeah, and I know that large majority of members will fit that.
Do you ever watch this show, Roger? We do a news section at the beginning of this show.
No, I told you, I got my technology is not that but advanced.
Oh, sir, I'll tell you, I'm really chuffed. Roger Arthur, very, very popular in this community. I certainly should be. Who is our chief letter writer to the Times, to the Telegraph, and who has some extraordinarily good points. The kind of guy that actually I think we need in politics. Roger, yes, please, sir. I agree with you. We are going to be discussing that tonight. I think that actually you said that you wanted to pop on the very beginning of the show just now to make your point because you're not available later on. No, is that correct?
I'm probably already in trouble, Ollie, but it doesn't matter. My country is more important.
Yeah. Well, look. If you would like to hang around and debate this with Katie, then I'd appreciate that. But if you can, then let me go through some of the news stories going on today, and then we'll get into this conversation. Is that all right?
Well, that's fine with me. Yeah, go ahead, Olly.
Roger?
I don't know what Roger's saying. He says he's already in trouble. I don't know where he's got to go, but I think we're always in trouble if we're involved in politics and we've got other engagements. Kind of takes over your life, doesn't it, Roger? Do you have time to discuss?
Yeah.
Good. Sir, please hang about, and we'll go through this. But I just want to go through some of the stories going on, give people a bit of an idea of what's going on in the world of fake stream. And so the headlines today, predictably, were Boris in the dock over Brexit lies, in inverted commas. Boris in £350 million criminal lie trial. And I don't know if you heard Robin Horsley's take on that last night on this show, but he was saying actually there is a lot more. There is a lot more than. Hold on a sec. Other people are calling in. Please, let us do the news section first, because otherwise it's just abject chaos. So give us about 20 minutes, and then I do want you to call in, please. As Robin Horsley was saying last night, yes, there is this kind of amount of money that is going to the EU, and it's very interesting that this guy, who is an avid Remainer, by the way, who is suing Boris Johnson, is doing it at this very time. As I think Dominic Raab pointed out, the timing is very, very interesting. People do seem to have it in for Boris right now because I guess he is the leading contender and he is talking about a WTO Brexit. Not a no-deal Brexit yet, a WTO deal Brexit with ancillary deals to keep the planes flying and the lorries moving, etc., etc. Anyway, Guardian is leading on Russians. Mueller breaks 2 years silence to say, I have not exonerated Trump. Well, you know what? In that case, why in your report are you not pointing the finger at Trump? You haven't got anything on him, apparently. Oh, yeah, you're not exonerating him? Sure. Well, what have you actually got that you can point the finger at him with? That's what I'd like to know, and I imagine a few other people, and apparently the president as well, who tweeted today, Russia, that's all you heard at the beginning of this witch hunt hoax, and now Russia has disappeared because I had nothing to do with Russia helping me to get elected. It was a crime that didn't exist. So now the Dems and their partner, the fake news media, Now, that sentence there, I had nothing to do with Russia helping me to get elected, is being picked up on by a lot of mainstream. I don't know if any of you heard PM today, for example, on Radio 4. They loved it, jumped all over it, because he is insinuating in his vocabulary there, in his grammar, in his turn of phrase, that Russia did help to get him elected while saying he had nothing to do with it. You know what? I got to tell you, anybody that thinks that any government, any foreign government doesn't try to coerce an electoral result in another nation is an idiot. It happens all the time, whether it's stateside to the UK, to, with tampering with elections all over the world, for crying out loud. the UK, vice versa, France, Germany, etc., etc., etc. We had what? The Hofstadt, the guy, that kind of bloke from the EU. People are calling me. You can't call me during the news section. I'm not going to pick up the phone during the news section. I'm sorry. But he was there on the campaign trail telling people to vote Lib Dem. In other words, vote Remain, as opposed to voting for, a Brexiteering party. Was Verhofstadt. There is foreign coercion all the time. It is so tedious to have to point out the bleeding bloody obvious, quite frankly. But anyway, there you go. There are other stories, really, just a miscellany. And the reason that I concentrate on stateside stuff, by the way, is because it is important for Brexit. You imagine if we'd had Hillary Clinton in the White House over the course of the last 3 years, whatever it is now, we would be far further away from regaining our sovereignty. And so I do think it's very, very important. Conflict of interest, according to RT, Mueller wanted to be FBI director. I said no from Trump. Trump saying this, according to them. A very interesting spin. President Donald Trump has lashed out at recently retired special counsel Robert Mueller, accusing the Russiagate investigator of a conflict of interest after Trump turned him down for a job as the head of the FBI. And this is a quote from the president. Robert Mueller came to the Oval Office along with other potential candidates seeking to be named the director of the FBI. He tweeted, he had already been in that position for 12 years. I told him no. The next day, he was named special counsel. A total conflict of interest. Nice. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, what is your take on this? Am I being somehow unbalanced in reporting this the way should I just be talking Russians, Kate, or
okay,
what?
So, Ollie, I'm going to be honest. With what I do, my time is very much taken up with internal party politics and Britain and our democracy, and what's going on in the EU is my main focus. Now, I know that international politics does have a massive influence, and what you're saying is, yes, there is coercion that goes on, of course, within all nations' democratic processes, as we've seen with our own democratic will has been completely overturned by the EU and our own saboteurs in Parliament. However, I don't really understand what's going on in America, because I haven't really had the time, because everything here is so messed up, to focus on what's going on over there. And I think Donald Trump is actually quite competent at dealing with it himself. However, going back to the first news article, because you talked about an awful lot when you got started, when you were talking about Boris Johnson. I mean, this is all to do with the Tory leadership race. And if you remember when Theresa May first came into power, Boris Johnson was going to throw his name into the hat and was stabbed in the back by his colleagues at that point in time. Now, I think Boris is quite clever, but I think he forgot a serious Machiavellian principle is you don't put all your cards on the table straight away. I mean, maybe he talked about, I want to leave under WTO, no deal Brexit, because he wants that support, because he can see it ebbing away from the Conservative Party, as we've seen in the disastrous local elections for the Conservatives and in the EU elections. But I think that Boris played his hand far too early. And he's given himself opportunity to be attacked. I mean, people have been discussing today, I don't know whether you saw it in the media. I mean, I very rarely look at the mainstream media news, but I'll have a bit of a glance. And if anything, I think is, sort of interest that I don't think it's completely fake news, I might give it a bit of a read. And they were saying, should leadership elections be so dirty? And the fact is when, things are so high stakes as the governance of this country, and that's what it is, a Tory leadership election. Who gets to govern one of the most powerful nations in the world? Of course, there is going to be an awful lot of dirty play. And I think, unfortunately, Boris has left himself open to that by going out and, basically playing his hand too early. Maybe Boris, he is, like I say, he's a smart man. Maybe he's got something hidden up his sleeve and he can overcome this. But I don't, I think that being the leading story of, apparently Boris is in trouble for lying during the Brexit campaign. I mean, is David Cameron going to get in trouble for lying? Or all of the MPs that have been getting on the news and lying to us about, how the sky is going to fall down, the economy is going to collapse, the world is going to end if Brexit happens.
Yep.
Are all these people going to be accountable for their lies and all the lies they say in Parliament? Are we suddenly allowed to hold politicians accountable for lies? I would love that. I would love if we are, but it seems very selective, doesn't it? By just targeting this one person, and like you say, it's a Remainer that's doing it. So I don't think I can comment much on Russia. Apparently Russia colludes with everywhere. They were part of the meme wars. They interfered with the original election of Donald Trump. They even think that they interfered with Brexit, and I think that's been proven untrue. But
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
News items. However, it's Roger still there, because I want to hear what he's got to say.
Well, let me just say, I wouldn't be surprised if Russia tried to interfere in Brexit and the EU all the time. It's what nation states do. Who cares? Who cares? The bottom line is, people, do you want your sovereignty or do you want to be overruled by foreigners? I mean, it's up to you. I mean, it really is as simple as that. I think this is a complete red herring. The bottom line is the electorate given the information to be able to make a decision fairly and reasonably, and to encourage to research for themselves, because they shouldn't be trusting politicians to be telling the right things anyway, because they've generally got some kind of an agenda. Sorry, excuse me, Katie, but let's face it, that is certainly the way it is with the Tory party. We've seen it with May. We've seen it with, Blair today. It turns out he got a bung from the EU a few years back. Heath, another one, won the Charlemagne Award, in today's money worth about 1.5 million quid or something, according to Express newspaper, 10 years before he took us into the EEC. These people are biased. We're all biased. All you can do is to try and get the facts. Sorry, go on, Kate. Go on.
Sorry, that was a bit of an off comment. It was basically, I think that Theresa May will probably get one of these Charlemagne Awards. I mean, didn't Merkel get it 3 years running?
There you go.
Thanks to her.
There you go.
Staged
so crisis. They're given money, they're getting money, they're getting bungs, and look at what they're doing. The way that they're taking Europe and trying to, interfere. I mean, Merkel, there's a story today. I was going to come on to this. I might as well just look at this now. Briefly, I don't know if Roger is still there, but in the Telegraph, Germany will veto Brexit extension unless UK holds a public vote, senior MP warns. In the Telegraph, Germany will block another delay to Brexit at the European Council unless the UK announces a second referendum or general election by October, the Bundestag's Foreign Affairs Committee chair has warned. What is that if it is not foreign interference? I'm sorry. I mean, come on. You can't have it one way and not both.
What were people expecting? We've been telling people for years. This is why people voted to leave the EU in the first place. It wasn't, some, as they say, racist agenda against immigrants. It's not about that. That's 17.5 million people. The majority of them do not want to be governed by a foreign body. It's against our common law and it goes against our national sovereignty. That's right. Why should we have somebody else writing our laws and governing how we are? But that is foreign interference on its highest level. But that's what the EU is. And it has managed to creep in stage by stage. I mean, when we originally signed into it, it was a trade agreement. And, without us knowing, we were signing away our sovereignty. And bit by bit,
That's
they have
right.
taken
but
away
the government
more and more powers from the UK. Do you think that just because we voted democratically, an institution that is so anti-democratic at its core was going to respect that? I mean, look what they did with Ireland when they voted against accepting the EU as the euro as a currency.
Yep.
They rejected it, and the EU decided that they weren't happy with that answer, so they held a second referendum, and they ended up with it. And look at their economy now.
Right. That's exactly
most of the young people are going elsewhere to find jobs. It's. I don't know why people always expect that somehow places like Germany and the EU are going to respect British democracy and not want to interfere with a First Nation in the EU that has decided that we're leaving and has started a legal process to leave. And it's interesting what you were saying about, Merkel sort of launching some sort of bid to legally say that we will have to hold a second referendum or a general election. I mean, where are we up to with Robin Tilbrook and the English Democrats? Because I was given a brief update on that, but
we'll come on to Robin.
You know, apart from going on their website, and I've been so busy, there hasn't been much that I've seen. But surely we have some legal, I would say, legal rights to uphold our own democratic will, and that this extension is illegal and holding a second referendum would in fact be illegal. I mean, where are we with that? I mean, surely our own legal system and our own legal will should supersede that of the EU and Germany. Now we decided to leave, but it doesn't appear so, does it, Ollie?
Katie, okay, one last story I want to put on the record, because again it relates to all of this. Kicking the leading contender for. Wait, just a very quick question, brief answer, please. When you say that he showed his hand too early, Boris, are you saying that are you talking about the fact that he said we will leave on Halloween, irrespective on a WTO Brexit? Is that what you're saying, or what bit of his hand are you talking about?
I think that the Tory party is you know, any political party is a venomous environment, and most of the time when people say I'm going to be leader and this is exactly what I'm going to do, it gives your enemies that are being quiet in the background opportunity to then plot and plan against you if they know everything that you're going to be doing in advance. Yeah, and I think you know, with Boris saying that I want to take us out on WTO, there are going to be those Remainers that have been sabotaging us within the Tory party that you know are going to have like black books of information of
that's right,
naughty things that they're going to put out and horrible plots and plans. And I think if Boris had sort of played the game for a little bit and sort of said, well, I would consider a Brexit deal, then they might have thought, oh, well, maybe we could manipulate Boris. And then once Boris was in power, he could have gone, well, actually, we're now leaving under WTO rules and see you later. Yeah, and that's what he should have done. I would say though that
I mean I would admire anybody that comes out and says what it is that they want and be honest about it, provided they are honest about it. I mean, we had it from Theresa May and it turned out she lied. Brexit means Brexit. My arse. I mean,
honesty in politics. And I think that honesty is the best policy with the public. It really is. And I think that
and the Tory membership, they need to know what they're voting for.
Honesty in inside internal party politics is sometimes, you know, especially like I say, when you play your hand a little bit too early, it leaves you open to attack and it gives your enemies opportunity to plan against you. It
has. But okay, so what he's saying, what we've got here now is Donald Trump. According, this is Breitbart's top story, Westminster, the Telegraph, and the Times online are all leading with Donald Trump praises Nigel Farage for great victory in European Union vote. Okay, so this is a slightly different story. President Donald Trump praised Brexit warrior Nigel Farage on Thursday for the results of the European Union vote. He also, this is, I want to get to that angle in a minute, Katie. He also said, Trump said, Boris is a friend of mine. Trump comes close to endorsing Boris Johnson as his pick to succeed May. Now, that surely is important, is it not? That we get on with our old ally, the United States, who would be our largest trading partner, and he wants us at the front of the queue, not the back of the queue, the front of the queue, does Donald Trump, to sort that out. We can label the chlorinated chicken, for crying out loud. So I mean, I would have thought that he would be a big beast PM if he had the ear of the president of the United States, as opposed to Theresa May. Probably calls him up and gets put through to, I don't know, his assistant or something. I mean, you know, there is a difference here. If these people can get on and respect each other in terms of their policies. No, Times is saying Trump heaps praise on big powers Johnson and Farage. President could meet Brexiteers during his UK visit next week for the D-Day commemoration. President Trump has praised Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage as two big powers in Britain and congratulated the Brexit Party leader for his success in the European elections. Nigel Farage is a friend of mine. Boris is a friend of mine. They're two very good guys, very interesting people. Very interesting. Very, 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 very. Mr. Trump said today, Nigel's had a big victory. He's picked up. But I mean, from the point of view of Mr. Johnson and this leadership campaign going on in the Tory party now, Katie, I mean, he that surely is going to make the Tory membership just want him even more. But on the other hand, it, as you say, it makes the Remain camp more and more concerned because we know that Trump is anti-EU.
Good. Let them be concerned because we're not going away and we're going to carry on fighting until we get what we voted for. But, a lot of people will probably be expecting me to be like, this is not great news. And, but I congratulate Nigel Farage and the Brexit Party on their success. It means, I think the British public said the Brexit Party, they obviously still see him as Mr. Brexit, and they have done incredibly well. I think endorsements from the President of the United States, who is basically probably the most important man in the free democratic Western world, I think it is great. And I think back in 2016, I was quite disappointed that when Nigel Farage stood down, that he did stand down as leader, but also that he didn't capitalize on that relationship that he had, grown with Donald Trump throughout Donald Trump's leadership, the presidential campaign, sorry. And I think that the fact that President Trump is very happy with Nigel Farage's success and has sort of endorsed Boris Johnson is a great sign. And I think that, improving relations that I think have become a little bit marred because of the sour grapes of the left since 2016, where, we've seen really petty things like the Trump balloon and not my president.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was in one of the London stations one day after there was a protest and there was people literally crying on the floor because Donald Trump was coming to the UK. And I think the disrespect that people have shown America and the actual special relationship that we've had. I mean, even, it was very rare for a president, a sitting president of the United States not to be invited to a royal wedding, even though Meghan Markle was quite clear she wanted to invite the Obamas, even though they're no longer presidents, and was disgusted at the idea of Donald Trump. I think it's about time that we show the Americans to invite the Obama. All the British people are not like that. And I'd love to see a relationship between Donald Trump, not only just a trade relationship, but a continued special relationship that America and Britain have always shared. Being reinstated instead of this continued disrespect of the President of the United States. And I'm very happy for Nigel Farage and Boris to be given such an endorsement. I think it's good news for the people of Britain.
I've got some people trying to call in. I just give me another 10 minutes, folks, because I've got a few generic questions for Katie, first of all, please, which I want to get out of the way before I open this up. But okay, so UKIP. Is UKIP different from? I mean, Roger's saying we need new politics and all the rest of it. I mean, we've seen all sorts of nightmares with UKIP. With, I mean, for example, that Bolton bloke. Just clearly was, it was all very party political in the negative sense of that phrase. It seems to me. Now Gerard has turned the fortunes of the party around. In as much as it was about to be bankrupt and it was all completely buggered, wasn't it? He sorted that out, but he's now saying he's not standing in the leadership because, and actually I put out an email which was really saying hands up, it's my fault, and he's not standing in the leadership. What is going to happen now with UKIP?
Well, the NEC will be meeting this weekend and we'll be discussing the leadership election. In fact, if you are a UKIP member, a card-carrying UKIP member, you can send me a copy or at least your membership number. I have a page on Facebook which I put documents on. It's been a little bit quiet over the last 18 months because, like I say, I was facing some persecution, which meant I had to keep my head down for quite a little bit of time because Yes, well, I won't go into that at this point. But anyway, I've written a leadership document and it holds all the proposals, a example schedule, the changes to the rule book, such as O5 of the eligibility, whether we'll be holding the elections electronically under BB of the party rule book or going with the contingency procedure under BB5 to then go with CC, which is then a manual ballot, which I've been trying to ask the members what they prefer. I mean, I understand that there are different procedures for both, and people want to understand how they work. The documents for that are all on that page. If you want any of those documents sent to you personally, please do email me at katie.fanning@ukip.org. I may ask you for your membership number if I don't know who you are, even though I'm pretty sure that the documents will leak anyway. There's nothing confidential really in them. It's only that I only want UKIP members' responses and opinions, because I don't represent anybody but the UKIP members. So there will be a leadership election and it will be conducted really soon. I don't know. Gerard Batten may decide to stand. He's saying at this point, and he did say during the EU election campaign, if he lost his seat, that he would then be untenable. Now, I know the Brexit Party have done really well, and the EU elections were a bit of a disaster for us. Not only did we lose the last 3 sitting MEPs, but we only got about 3.2%. And personally, I feel that's for a variety of reasons. Maybe we should go into them, maybe we shouldn't. But, the Brexit Party, as in all organisations, when they first start, they go through stages, and they're in what I call the honeymoon stage. So everything's going great and people are getting to know each other, and, there hasn't been any complications so far. But with any organisation, any business, especially political parties, with the kind of personalities and egos they've got, there are going to be teething problems. I mean, we've got one thing that the Brexit Party doesn't have, and that's a manifesto. So far, I mean, they must have governing documents, but I've yet to find their constitution, their rule book, and I really want to know how they're going to come up with their policies. Because can you imagine Anne Widdecombe and Claire Fox sitting in a room and together agreeing an economic policy for the Brexit Party for a general election?
But does that matter? The Brexit Party went into it was an EU election. It was a slightly different kind of an election, but nonetheless, the Brexit Party went into that election with one policy, one pledge: a WTO Brexit. That was it. And they absolutely annihilated everybody else, apart from the Lib Dems, who didn't do too bad, I guess. But they were still nearly, almost in a way, double. What was it, 30? And the Lib Dems got 20. And Tories, pretty much obliterated. Labour, ditto. UKIP, same, trounced. They had one policy. What's the point of having a great big manifesto when it's quite clear?
That's why they did so well.
It's quite clear, Katie, from the votes that went to
party politics. They decided one thing, and because the Brexit Party was so simple, it's the Brexit Party. They have one policy: leaving.
That's what people want,
and that is it. And people just wanted to say, and I think that it was a protest vote. I think that the reason that the Tories did so badly was because it was more of a protest vote, and then because of people are sheep, not so much sheep, but they understand how the electoral system works. And if they see that one particular group, because when you get fractions all fighting for the same thing, people are always going to vote for the one that they think is going to be the most successful. And obviously, with the campaign that went forward, people felt that the Brexit Party was going to be more successful in bringing about what they wanted, leaving the EU.
That's right.
And that's fantastic.
The point being,
and that's great that that's their primary purpose.
People aren't
but UKIP has a purpose beyond that.
People are primarily interested with Brexit. It seems to me that the electorate's become very sophisticated. They realise that if we don't get Brexit, all the rest ultimately is going to be decided by Brussels anyway. So what's the point of all that lot being in the manifesto? We have to get Brexit first. Is that not what the public decided? And therefore, they either voted leave or remain.
Well, what worries me is if all these people are, I mean, I've been told that there isn't actual membership of the Brexit Party yet, and more sort of subscribers. However, like voters. I said, I think a lot of the people that voted for the Brexit Party were angry Tories. So what's going to happen if these angry Tories have all resigned from the Tory party and now there's a leadership election shouldn't they be part of the Tory party to try and ensure, and I'm not 100% certain how their process works, but I'm sure it's not as democratic as UKIP's is, where the members get a full say on who their leader becomes. But surely they'd want to be able to be inside the Tory party to influence, to ensure somebody like Boris, I mean, I don't think Jacob Rees-Mogg put himself forward, but somebody that really does want an actual Brexit becoming the prime minister of this country. However, you know, who knows? There's likely to be a general election, like you say, or a referendum in October. We're supposed to be leaving the EU in October. Ollie, I think the whole of politics is chaos at the moment. And I think October, once again, we still won't be any clearer.
Okay. So
honestly, I think we'll get to the end of October and not be any clearer about where we're going.
So when you go into this NEC meeting, will you say, look, come on, people are concerned about Brexit. That's what they want. All of this other stuff in the manifesto is secondary. We need to concentrate on getting our sovereignty. We've been distracted with all of this other stuff. I'm not saying it's wrong, but the fact is that it is not as important.
Yeah, and I think that's in some ways how UKIP has not lost its way, because I don't believe that most of the things that we stand for have been incorrect. But I do think that the focus of UKIP that has been portrayed by the mainstream media has been on, you know, the recent affiliations over the last 12 months under Gerard Batten's leadership with, you know, his advisor Tommy Robinson and people like Sargon of Akkad and the Nazi pug guy. Forgive me, I can't remember his name at this point in time. And Paul Joseph Watson, who actually hasn't been a problem at all. But I think that, you know, the image of UKIP maybe had changed, and Nigel Farage hadn't helped with that. You know, he turned around and called, you know, people skinheads and thugs, and I think that some of the focus has not really actually been away from Brexit. You know, Gerard Batten and UKIP have tried to keep the focus on Brexit, but we're not solely about that. And yes, maybe we should have kept our eye completely solely on the ball there. But you've got to remember that we hold no seats in Parliament, and we do our best to talk about it in the media. But the media don't like us, so they don't give us any exposure. Sure. So, it's quite difficult. And Farage, I respect what he's done, and hopefully with his Brexit party, it'll help, you know, to influence and achieve that we actually leave the European Union. But it does make me highly suspicious how, you know, for a long time, the media didn't want to print anything great about him. And then suddenly he's become their blue-eyed boy. I mean, on polling day, one of the big stories was Nigel Farage goes to vote. And I was thinking, how is that even news? So, you know,
some people are concerned.
All about how you're portrayed in the mainstream media, because 90% of the people that come to vote, they're influenced by things like that, unfortunately.
Some people are concerned, actually. I'd be interested to hear your take on this. I mean, we know that Nigel Farage has done a lot of damage to UKIP one way and another. What he said about the membership was, well, I thought it was despicable, frankly. But he did things like he imposed.
Join in the chat, Olly. I've got something odd going on with my screen.
Oh, it should improve. It should improve. We've just had Colin Duff call in, who wants to ask a question. Just bear with me, please, Colin. He should. For example. I've lost my thread now. But he hasn't done any favors for what has been a great Brexit party. The party, largely under Nigel Farage's leadership, that got us that referendum and got us to the point, the verge of leaving this EU political project, and to retain our sovereignty and what have you. We have full respect to UKIP for having done that. But also, this guy Farage, since he's left, has put the boot in big time. And he's done things like he's given UKIP Henry Bolton and Paul Nuttall, who I like the guy, but quite frankly, he was no leader. Not exactly done any favours, has he? And my point being, can we trust Nigel Farage? Some people are concerned that the Brexit party is essentially a reincarnation of the old Tory party.
I feel that the Brexit Party probably has more Tory supporters and ex-Tory members than it does of anybody else.
I'm not worried about the members. I'm not worried about the voters. I'm worried about the people in power.
I feel we can kind of trust Nigel Farage in regards to Brexit, but that's only because the man has been fighting for it for over 25 years.
Yeah.
However, like I said, I do find it highly suspicious. He's suddenly the blue-eyed boy. He talked about supporting a second referendum multiple times. You know, I've met and I've known many MEPs and politicians since getting involved in politics. And to be honest,
yes.
you know, be careful of meeting your idols, because sometimes it can be very disappointing. And quite a lot of them, they might have got into politics for the right reasons, but once they get to the EU, I mean, the MEPs, they don't have much power. They don't do much. They can't put motions or proposals forward. They get at most 2 minutes to speak in the EU Parliament on any issue. You know, most of them just clock in, get their 350 quid and clock back out, and they very, very rarely do anything. And they like that gravy train. They like that importance. They like that people look up to them and that people want jobs with them, and they get this sense of power, and also they don't have to do much for their money, so they get used to that, and it makes me a little bit suspicious of anybody that wants to be part of the EU. You know,
How can
I think the Brexit Party has stated what they're there for, and hopefully they will. If everything goes well, we will leave in October. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think it will have a lot to do with who wins the Tory leadership race, because the MEPs and the Brexit Party actually have no power and control to implement Brexit in any manner.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll just have to go from there. So I don't know whether we trust Nigel Farage fully, or whether I trust Nigel Farage fully. You know,
I mean, what a lot of us would like to see, is the Brexit Party and UKIP somehow allying, joining forces, so that we have a broad church. I mean, they're MEPs. You mentioned we've got, on the one hand, we've got Anne Widdecombe. On the other hand, we've got Claire Fox. I mean, leagues apart in terms of so much policy staff. But they already have shown that they've got a broad church there. Is there not a place for UKIP to be involved in that? For the sake of the country, can we not unify now?
I'm not really, you know, for me, the best time that I've ever had in fighting for our sovereignty was during the EU referendum campaign, and it was great. I mean, here in Manchester, we had people from Labour Leave, there was people from UKIP, there was people that were non-party politically affiliated, you know, there was even communists, there was Green Party members, there was even Lib Dems that came out, and they campaigned.
You're not answering the question.
You know, we could go out and we were quite amicable, and we could actually speak about other topics other than the EU, you know, other things that
would you consider?
And everybody got along quite amicably. However, what we have is a cult of personality politics, where people want to follow the leader, and these leaders are egotistical and they don't want to get on, and they'd rather have their own parties and believe that they can lead better than anybody else, you know, and they can't operate together. I would love to see one unified party of sorts, but that fights for all, you know, that is fighting for purely our democratic freedoms and our civil liberties. However, there are going to be disagreements in something that would be such a broad church when it comes to writing a manifesto.
Yeah, no, sure. But there will be in the Brexit Party anyway, clearly.
But, you know, until we can get a party that implements direct democracy, where you can actually know what the majority of members want, I don't think that you can get a party that could unify.
You advocate direct democracy, huh? You do, don't you?
Yeah, well,
because Bill Etheridge came on this show last week from Brexit Party, and he said that so does. Now, what are you doing with your books there? What's going on with your picture? Bill Etheridge came on this show last week, and he said that Brexit Party advocates direct democracy. That is something that is not absolutely official at this stage, but that they are very, very inclined towards John Rhys Evans' idea of direct democracy. Therefore, there's a big thing you've got in common.
Sorry, I had messages coming through and thought I could read them at the same time, and apparently not without ending up flipping cameras and things.
No, you can't.
John Rhys Evans, I was quite closely connected with his campaign. I obviously supported his leadership campaign. I actually pushed direct democracy through the NEC under Paul Nuttall's leadership, but unfortunately we got all the programs written and it eventually didn't get paid. Other people went off. Somebody started one political party. John Rhys Evans started his own. I had, been elected to the NEC of UKIP, so obviously had a duty and responsibility to remain in UKIP and serve our members to the best of my ability, as I pledged to. So I'm not going anywhere and won't be until UKIP has to close down, which again is not happening anytime soon. But yeah, I think direct democracy is a fantastic idea. This is why when people ask about when Tommy Robinson came up for question, and I said it shouldn't be the NEC that decide. I would like to put it up to the majority of the membership, because as your representative, I can't pretend what the majority of you would want. And this is why I'm a big I'm a big promoter within UKIP of electronic voting and promoting these systems so that we can have internal referenda on either, particular motions or policy proposals or rulebook changes. So, but
it is very interesting, though, that point.
This has not been supported. People didn't vote for that in that leadership election, so it's not been implemented.
Colin is waiting patiently. Colin, one more question from me, please, and then I'm going to bring people in. And we've only got 15 minutes left, unfortunately. But I want to get as much as we can out of Katie. God bless her for coming on. I want to know who you support for leadership of UKIP, please.
At this point in time, I don't know everybody who might declare, so I can obviously make a decision on that. At this point in time,
what sort of names? What sort of names are we looking at?
I won't have any control over who wins anyway. I just want to ensure that this leadership election is run in the most efficient and democratic manner as possible, and obviously cost effective for business purposes. But at this point in time, especially if Gerard isn't standing, I don't have a favourite for leader. However, as long as I'm not involved of the running of the leadership elections, I may end up selecting a favourite at some point, but otherwise
sure
until I know who all the candidates are, what they're pledging, what their vision for the future of UKIP is, how their leadership style would be. Do they respect our constitution, our rule book? Do they respect our internal democratic processes? What is their policies on certain things? What do they expect in regards to payments, in regards to staffing? There'll be an awful lot of questions for me in regards to who I prefer for
So when is this campaign going to kick off proper? When are we going to see what names are involved?
Well, there is an example schedule that is written inside the leadership election plan. Like I say, people can email me for it. That is an example schedule. Obviously, I would prefer that there is a shorter interim period as possible from the moment that Gerard Batten decides to hand in his resignation, just because I don't think that leadership elections are really great internally for parties. It causes an awful lot of division just by the nature of what it is. And I'd prefer for it to be conducted obviously before the party conference, which will be in September. And if there is to be a possible general election, and obviously we'll be wanting to continue to campaign for Brexit, there might be more by-elections. Like right now, guys, if you are UKIP members, there is a by-election in Peterborough. If you can make your way there, please email me or contact the UKIP Peterborough branch. But yes, UKIP's got an awful lot to do in a short space of time. So the leadership elections hopefully will be conducted as soon as possible. I believe Gerard Batten will have handed in his resignation by the end of this week. The NEC will be meeting this weekend, where the terms, the conditions and the parameters, everything else, suppliers will be chosen. And then I think the date of the commencement of the leadership elections will be announced, which I hope will be conducted within 8 to 10 weeks, possibly on a shorter time scale, if depending on the systems and what the suppliers need in regards to set those up.
I think that I cut off Roger. I apologise, Roger. I think I cut him off. If you want to call back, sir, please do. Colin, Colin Duff, what did you want to ask? What did you want to ask,
Colin.
Colin? What did you want to ask, sir?
Just a quick one. I've listened to you, Kate. You sound like a really sensible lady, I have to say. I've not come across you before, but you make sense. And you're magnanimous as well, which is unusual. Okay. I just want to ask you this. On the Peterborough by-election, if it goes horribly against UKIP, where do you think you can go from there? I'm absolutely convinced that Nigel, the Brexit Party, is going to do well and take the seat.
They could put the cleaner in and win it.
It's quite possible. UKIP's gone through many ups and downs in its existence. They've been around for over 25 years now, and there's been harder times than this. And I'm going to be honest, from what I know of, and I'm hoping to be in contact with UKIP Peterborough tomorrow, because it's planning tonight, but I ended up on here. The campaign hasn't had too much support because it's been quite busy in regards to UKIP members are a little bit what you call campaign fatigued. I'm hoping that we can get members down there to help out and campaign. However, if it doesn't go well, I don't think it's the end of the world for UKIP. I think that UKIP needs to regroup and have a look at what's gone wrong, what's gone right. We're in a much better financial and operational position than we were, in the past few years. And I think that, like I say, the Brexit Party will have its own internal hiccups, as any new organisation does. And UKIP has a purpose beyond a single party issue or a single issue thing like the Brexit Party is. So they might do well. However, I'd like to see what their manifesto is, and we'll see where UKIP's future goes from there. I think UKIP's future will be decided by its members in this upcoming leadership election, more than what's happening electorally, because the Lib Dems literally disappeared off the map a few years ago and we're doing very badly. And look how well they've done this year. So there is always an opportunity for people to do better in the future, and it is vital that UKIP carries on succeeding. So as long as I'm here, you'll carry on surviving.
Of course, Katie, it's fair to say that UKIP needs to regroup and all that, and I personally would not call it a dead force by any stretch, but is there not a possibility, if it wasn't to team up with Brexit Party somehow, that it could nonetheless be... It could turn out to become some kind of pressure group, a very, very powerful pressure group specifically for Brexit. Could that be the case?
Oh, well, I completely agree. I think that, working together, united we stand, divided we fall. I think when we have such a evil and efficient force as the establishment doing what they're doing, of eroding our rights from within, I think that we need to be united to fight against it. But do I think it's going to happen? Not at this point. I would like you to possibly, Ollie, if you can, get a Brexit Party representative on here and ask them if they feel like they could ever be able to collaborate with UKIP, because they've painted us as far right and called us Nazis, and I know that the Brexit Party have been trying to woo over certain members of UKIP, it's like councillors and branch party chairman, to try and go over to their group. But yes,
Colin, please.
I don't disagree with what you just said, but I think that the far right accusation has been sort of self-inflicted. Now, it may well not be from your perspective, but what you have to consider in all things is the way people view you. And what's happened is that you can make a mistake and then deny you made the mistake and then run away from the mistake as fast as you like. But the very moment that you made the mistake, that's what stays. It's people's perception of UKIP.
That's largely down to this Remoron media, though, isn't it, Colin? Look, I want to take a few comments. I want to take a few comments as well, because we've only got 6 minutes left, and I want to be as democratic as possible as can. Amanda Rolfson says, UKIP democratic? If so, how come they block people from making comments on their Facebook page then, especially when it is something they do not want to hear? Sue Dacey says it's in UKIP's interest to join with the Brexit Party in the short term, if not the long term. Gemma Smith, Farage planned to bring down UKIP. Thought that you were a DVP supporter. Paris, Democrat and Veterans Party. Go on. That sounds like... Go on. That's a challenge there, Katie.
No, I'm still a UKIP NEC member. However, I do wish DVP the best in their endeavours when they're not standing against us in opposition in a campaign. Obviously, then I'm like, go UKIP. But, I respect what they're trying to do, the same as I respect what the Brexit Party is trying to do, and any organisation that is fighting for our sovereignty and our freedoms.
Would you
however,
like to see?
First comment, I don't think we deserve the far right comments. I don't think we've become far right. I do think some of the affiliations that Gerard made maybe have caused that. However, Nigel Farage used to be painted as far right for his immigrant poster and other things. So I think it's just a label they give people that they want to demonise them. In regard to what were the other comments?
Okay, now, Colin, please, I want to get comments from other people as well, because a lot of people, look, I've got, blimey, hundreds of comments here. But God bless you. Thank you very much indeed. I wanted to ask you, though, Katie, if JRE, if you would like John Rhys-Evans to come back to UKIP.
Well, I don't think John Rhys-Evans would, and it's not like John Rhys-Evans could stand in a leadership contest, because you have to have a certain tenure of membership consistently in good standing for you to be able to stand for something like party leader. However, I do think that his influence and the influence of many people that have left is could be combined to create something bigger, like you say. However, I don't think John will be doing that. I'm not sure what the DVP are up to. I've not really spoken to any of their guys for quite a while, because I've been so busy just with UKIP. That's
right. No, they're a bit off the map, but with good intentions, it seems to me, but a bit off the map. Joe Bloggs says, letting Robinson in or even as an associate was a bad move. Debbie Shaw says, when I stood for UKIP in 2016, I was instructed to remove my original Facebook page. And yes, Linda Fox and I were always trying to raise Facebook profile and online media, but we were told to stay off Facebook. Stephen C. Palfrey says, Farage was paraded by the media, and the BP has not had the slurs from the media. How have they come so far, so fast, when they're all about one man? AJ Ann Tyler says, goodness gracious me, she's good at drawing attention. Yvonne Tierney says, well said, Katie. Ed Stanton, so long as we don't end up with a two-party system with BP and UKIP falling into the same old two-party system we have at the moment. Faye Winterton, everyone is called far right by the hard left. If people don't believe in the leftist ideology, and Kim Gilson says Farage is a shill. Margaret Dickey, UKIP needs a loud and proud, strong speaker with a determined, confident voice. The policies can be read, but we need to be heard. Katie, please remind me again, when is the NEC meeting?
On Sunday, on the 2nd of June.
Yeah, you work pretty damn hard, don't you? You personally. I mean, I follow you on Facebook, what you're doing. And
well, I've just taken on a few too many projects at this point. I get lulls and downtime, obviously, but the leadership elections have taken a little bit of planning, and I do an awful lot of civic work and volunteering work and all kinds of stuff, but under PTSD therapy and stuff at the moment, so I don't have to work as many hours as I have to, which is great for me.
Hold on a sec.
Sundays are not that great a day to be sat. It takes about sometimes 3 hours to get to London on the trains from Manchester on a Sunday, 3 hours back, so 6 hours traveling, another 5 to 6 hours sat in a stuffy room looking over documents, discussing motions and other things. A lot of my friends are actually going out and having a big party on the Saturday evening, and obviously I can't go, and they all think I'm insane, that I would rather spend my Sunday doing that than coming out for my friend's birthday. But unfortunately, nobody's going to have nice birthday parties or nice things if people are not fighting for this country. Eventually it's all going to be
You don't actually get paid for that, do you? You don't actually get paid for your role on the NEC.
I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid for my role on the NEC. I do everything that I do voluntarily. All of the work, all of it.
Well, you know what?
But
I think a lot of us appreciate that. I really do.
Once you start to profiteer off of what I call activism and political voluntary work, you then actually become a politician. And I don't want to become a politician. That's a dirty word. And I think once you start to depend on
you are a politician, a very lovely one. Yeah, look, okay.
Oh, Ollie, don't call me that.
Well, you are. I mean, you're on UKIP's NEC, whether you like it or not. You're a politician, but a very lovely one. And maybe, arguably, more activist than politician. Look, I want to say a big cheers
as a very active activist. You see, a politician makes out that you do it as a career, and for a career you need to be paid for it. I don't get paid for what I do. Thus, I'm a very active activist.
It's vocational,
and I don't want being paid corrupting my political integrity or manipulating my ability to make independent decisions on behalf of my members. So I don't want a paid position in politics. I'm going to carry on doing it voluntarily for as long as I can.
You're not tempted if you were asked by Brexit Party to join them, would you? Why not?
No. Because I still have a term to see out, Ollie, and I believe in UKIP. I believe in the importance of UKIP. I believe that it has a very important future within British politics. You asked earlier on, do I think that everything's going to calm down after October? No, I don't. We're not just fighting for our freedoms that are being attacked externally by the EU. There are threats to our freedoms here in the UK. There are corrupt systems here that, have been destroying people's lives, like the social services, like Muslim paedophile rapist gangs. The injustices that I see throughout this country domestically also need sorting out. And UKIP has a purpose beyond Brexit. We have problems here at home that once we have our powers back and we can write our own laws, that then need dealing with. So UKIP has a purpose once we've left the European Union in ensuring that we no longer have a corrupt government and have an actual party of the people governing this country, or at least pressuring them to do what is right and historically holding these people to account that have abused their powers to I would say sabotage democracy, sell off our rights, and in some cases politically persecute people. I think they should all be held to account.
Katie Fanning, thank you very much indeed. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
My machine's a bit, I don't know. The RAM will catch up in any time. There you go. Katie Fanning, God bless you. Thank you so much. Bubba Kate Paris. I'll tell you what, to be a fly on the wall on Sunday at that NEC meeting, hey? That's going to be an interesting one. I suggest feisty. But I'm not saying with bad intent, with good intention. I mean, there's a lot of frustration, but understandably, I mean, really. I want to thank Roger Arthur for popping in too, as well, and reminding us where British politics needs to go. And Colin Duff, thank you for calling in, sir. Nobody else bothered. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you. I'm sorry it's a short show today. It was a bit short. Yeah. It's been one of those weeks. Daily Brexit. I'm Olly Connelly. I'll see you on Monday at 7 o'clock with Cassie Crowhurst. Yeah. Have a great weekend, folks. If you can support the show, please do. PayPal.me/Brexit. Thank you. Oh yeah, question time tonight. You know what? There's a Brexiteer on the panel. Well done, BBC. Amazing. No, they've actually got someone on from Brexit Party. Alex Phillips is on there with, Jo Swinson. Oh, that'll be entertaining. She's about as useful as a vice president of the local students' union. Stephen Pinker, who's a psychologist. He's probably going to tell us that we're all stupid or something. Rory Stewart, who is stupid from the Conservatives. Well, I don't know. Yeah. And Barry Gardner. Oh, for crying out loud. Anyway, that's question time later. Yeah. Always game for a laugh, isn't it? Cheers, folks. God bless you. All right, nighty night. Beer o'clock.